Hello, this is Dr. Paola Espinel. Today I want to share with you my experience and my journey preparations, how I cleared the clinical exam, sitting the first go after 14 years of not practicing as a doctor. So when I was starting to do this process and preparing for the exam, I wish I could interview some successful people. And today in this audio, I just want to talk to you. Let's see how it flows. I think we connect better if with the voice instead of just reading a page. I hope that I can inspire, motivate, and give you hope that you can do it. You can also be a next success story and clear the exam and keep moving on your life and make your medical career a reality and getting in Australia as the new home for you and your family. So I'll try to explain what I did, and it may not all work for you, but I want you to keep an open mind, be willing to do things out of your comfort zone, even if they sound very ridiculous or different, because we are very scientific people, but I think we need to be out of the box and do things different if we expect a different result. And this is a positive result. So why 14 years gap? I came to Australia in 2003 to study a Master's of Public Health. I finished medicine practice in my country, Colombia, for nearly 3 years and decided I wanted to come to Australia, travel, have some fun, work and study in an English-speaking country. So I came, did the Master's and started working in medical research. I cleared the MCQ in 2006. I studied really well and probably 6 to 8 months full time with a couple of friends. Believe me that in that time things were much easier, and I regret not to follow and complete the whole process, but things were meant to be different for me, and I have done another journey and path over this time that I think has helped me grow in many ways. So I'm trying to stop the regrets and don't blame myself for not doing it at that time, but things were much easier. So I did the MCQ. I was actually offered a job at RPA hospital. Paperwork was ready, and then I declined it when I was about to start because I got a job Australian in a good research institute. I was traveling around Australia collecting research data, and I thought that was fun, easier than working long hours, night shifts. So I put the medical career on hold and on a side, and I just worked on research for 10 years in different institutes, all associated with Sydney University. I did a lot of training. I grew, I became the manager, but I never did a PhD. So I realized that I missed connection with patients. I wanted to practice medicine again, and last year I made that crazy decision of, okay, I'm going back. I threw myself without expecting what that was going to take. And I decided to stop working. So I took a full year to prepare for the clinical. That doesn't mean that I study full time, because I am a wife. I have 2 little girls, one at the school, the other one at childcare. So I am busy, as many of you, with family responsibilities, and I just did that. I remember I was very anxious when I found out clinical exam pass rates were very low, and grateful in a sense that there were many dates, because back in the times when I was doing the MCQ, the clinical was only available 2 or 3 times a year, and the places were very limited. So in a sense, that was good to see that there was a lot of possibilities, and I ended up getting I was planning initially to do it in May, but obviously I couldn't have studied whole medicine again, and after being a mom, memory is not good. I'm not young as before, so it took me an effort to read again the whole, all the topics, and become familiar. But also it's more about the building the confidence and belief that you can do it. So from the start I tried to understand why the pass rate was so low and why the AMC makes things so hard. I know they want a lot of systematic approach, and you need to have that clear. They like things in order. They want you to be systematic, and they want you to know what you're doing. So it's not easy, but it is possible to pass. I want you to keep some things in mind before I talk about my preparation time frame, how I organize myself, what did I use as resources. So keep in mind that patients are acting, and we have to act too. You have to pretend that you are on a stage, you have to smile, show confidence. And to be on a stage, what do people do? Practice a lot. So it is important to take enough time to study, know the topics, and I emphasize that know the topics, that don't memorize the cases, because you never know if the cases are being twisted or things change from the one from the recall that you studied. So know the topics, be familiar with what to do, different tasks, and go from there. Some things that I see from people doing courses, or some people that I had the opportunity to have a quick approach and a quick encounters. I think there's a lot of people repeating like parrots. They seem like robots when they are doing the role play. They are obviously trying to put so much to hurry a lot, to say a lot in the minutes, but please, you need to think and act as you are doing it in real life. We all are doctors. I am sure you all have done some work at your home place or during the study time. You know how to approach people, you know how to care for people. That empathy, showing the smile, being confident, and your thinking and analytic skills are very important to show, because they want people to be confident and also be safe. So obviously the more you know about the Australian system, and the more you can familiarize, even if you are still living in your country, read about the Australian system, look at the different guidelines from the Victoria Place, and all the resources that I will share with you in a second. So what did I do in 1 year? I started probably the end of November, a year ago, studying by topics. I got the handbook electronic, I got current notes electronic, I got the books, all ebooks. I haven't printed a single thing, and I have always studied with my computer. Some of you may not like that. You need the printed copies to write notes. I created notes, but I wanted to have the notes organized, and I'm kind of messy, the handwriting and everything. So I decided to create summaries, and I used Excel after trying different things. I did a list of cases in Excel from the handbook, from Karen, from another course that probably you're familiar with, all the Wenzel topics, and I accessed some of the Hill courses. So I did a summary of the list by specialty. I started with pediatrics, and just reading and pretty much copy paste all the cases and the information that I had, because I found it easier to have it easy access to the list of cases, to be familiar with the topics, as I said, and to just highlight things or keep things that I wanted to make sure I remember. I also started doing some notes in Word document, and then it was kind of boring, too much information, so I started doing some slides in PowerPoint, and I cut and copy a lot of screenshots from the tables, from the books, checklist, questions to answer, to ask, pictures, diagnosis, very specific things, and a lot of summary boxes. And I also copied things from websites that I wanted to have handy. So I created over 70 slides in PowerPoint, 700 by specialty. Not all medicine, because it's too much and I didn't have time, but I did. Obviously the content of the slides reflects what was my weakness or what I think I need the most have the most information, and obviously that's reflected as well by the topics and the how much I see them coming in the recalls. So I did a list and I covered the topics for the most common presentations that are being asked in the exam. I also know from experience that I'm very good when I'm visual, so that's why I did the slides. And I'm also good when I listen often, to the same soundtrack. You start listening over and over, and you end up singing the song, or the more you listen to something, obviously the more you learn about it. So I decided to record myself, and I did some short audio files with all the physical examination scripts. The same from Wiki, Geeky Medics, and Tyler Connor checklist pretty much, but I recorded myself, and that was very helpful because that helped me listen at any time when I was, doing the shopping, even when I was driving. I know that's dangerous to do, but sometimes I drive and I listen to the audios, or when my kids were going to sleep, or when I was playing in the park, I just had the playlist and just listen again. So I recorded myself doing the physical exam scripts. I also record myself doing some history, taking and differentials, and I recorded myself with some counseling cases and just reading some notes that I wanted to keep handy. All that was in my Google Drive, so it was just access with a click on my phone anytime, everywhere, without having to be me sitting in my home with the laptop or the computer. That helped me a lot, and I tried to plan things in advance. And obviously, as I said before, I started with the Word document. That didn't help. I changed to slides. I started doing the Excel summary first with pediatrics. I didn't like that the way I was doing it. Then it evolved really nicely, and I did great list of cases for gyneco, obstetrics, psychiatry. I didn't bother to do medicine and surgery because I know it's too much, and I have heard people saying cover those topics because that's important, and obviously you cannot pass the exam if you do not pass at least one of the three of the gyneco, pediatrics, or at least one of the psychiatry. So I started and I focused a lot in learning well those specialties. So with the whole year, what did I do? Look, for 5 months I was reading alone, but it was not full time. I had 2 days of childcare from 9 to 5, and I was staying at the library next to the childcare and the school, full day reading and writing and doing the summaries. I also made an agreement with my husband to leave the home 2 nights a week so he can put the girls to sleep. And I went to the shopping center just to sit on a couch and read from 7 to 9:30 or 10 and do my summaries. So that was my life for 5 months. I also started going to the library all Saturday from 10 to 4, the same, reading and making summaries and finding all the resources that I wanted. So that's the study time alone. And that's when I made the slides, the summaries, the Excel sheet, and the audios. I also had my girl 3 days with me at home, and I used to put her to watch TV 2 hours after lunch before the school pickup, and that's when I read more. When I put them to bed at night, I used to put my audio files or watch the videos to practice. And yes, look, sometimes if I was too tired to go to the shopping center, it was too cold or raining, I just sat down in the car and read with the laptop. If you're a mom, you will understand that kids want to be around you, and they don't let you do any work unless you are out of the house. So I know one thing that I realize is that there's too many resources, too many files, too many things, too many books, and you cannot cover everything when you are preparing for exam. I had a friend who gave me a full external drive full of videos. There's some files, recalls that I haven't even had time to open. So you need to find what is essential and also make an order, try to do a plan. I remember doing a plan. Okay, this month I'm going to focus all on this, and just read the whole pediatrics. Okay, the handbook, Karen, Wenzel, everything that I could that's related to pediatrics, just cover it in the month. The next month, okay, I'm going to follow with this. Not enough time, okay, let's adjust the timetable and the calendar and see how I can do with flexibility. When I finished reading those three specialties, I felt confident to, okay, let's start with a partner. And that's when I started finding a partner. I started with one lady, very, very helpful. I always obviously recommend you, and I think the role plays are essential because you need to focus on the time management, and also you need to exchange things, solve some doubts, and see if you are confident, with the way you are saying, see if you are getting feedback about how systematic you are. So there are a lot of resources. I'll make a list in PDF, but what I use was the handbook. I read really well all the start of the chapter, and I also make notes about that, what they are actually looking for and what is important to know. Current notes, I know it's a great list of recall. It covers most of the cases. However, I see that sometimes they say the history is very detailed and you just need to ask a few questions. So you feel that you run out of time if you want to cover and repeat the whole notes from Karen. And also, a lot of people have mentioned, and I know that the management is not accurate in some. So don't follow and don't learn and repeat everything in Karen, but I think it's a really great list of cases that she put together. Books, John Martha, I found it really easy to read, to the point, simple. Chargeful pocketbook of differentials, really good because we always have to keep that in mind, and that's what they are focusing on now. Is not, okay, doctor, tell me diagnosis and management, but what could it be and what can I not miss? So differentials, if you know and you have talked to someone else doing the exam recently, that's the focus nowadays. So don't worry about the management, don't worry about details, don't worry about drugs, but it's more about the approach, history, what do you need to look for in the exam, and what could it be. What else? There's a red book of the General Australia, what is it? Yes, GP Australian College red book. Also the website and the guidelines from them are really good. I use the Nelson's book for pediatrics, and I use different websites, but it's mainly the College of Australian General Practitioners. Mental health, I use different Australian websites. I just Google by topic, and I went to sources that I thought were more truthful and evidence-based. I found, like a month before the exam, an excellent site that is called OSCE Stop, and had amazing summaries in PDF, 1 page per topic, all the history, differentials, what to ask. I really enjoy them. And also physical exam books. I use Tally O'Connor's and MacLeod's, and also the Geeky Medics videos are amazing, the same as the list that they have down underneath in the website. I also download the guidelines of the Royal Children's Hospital in an app, free from Google Store. So they have free guidelines, the Royal Children's Hospital, and also another app free for patient information sheets. I also download a ECG app because it's been a long time and didn't remember much about ECG, so I learned again how to read and analyze one of those. And I got the free Geeky Medics app, and I use it mainly for communication tips. So when I was in the park, when I was bored, when I was free, just open that app and read all the handling different difficult patients, all the breaking bad news. That's very good explained there. So role plays, after reading time, I started role plays around July, I think, beginning of July, and I did about 3 months. Every day we did 2 hours, Monday to Friday. I am a mom, I have busy life, my partner was working and busy as well, So we studied from 8 to 10, sometimes 10:30. It was very tiring, but it was worthy. And having the, accountability and commitment to meet with someone, that you have to do it. So I did the same role plays. We just got, okay, time, okay, calendar. 2 weeks we're going to do this, 2 weeks we're going to do that, 2 weeks we're going to do that. And I studied medicine only with the partner during the role plays, and also just going through the cases. Handbook Karen, because you cannot do all, we just pick a few that we wanted to practice. And also I did a lot of medicine study when I was doing all the physical exam and reading the MacLeod's book and the Tally O'Connor because of all the positive findings by disease. So it was a great way to study medicine and cover a lot of topics, even though I wasn't familiar with the cases. So practice makes perfect. The more you practice role play is good, especially for time management and also the feedback, as I said. It's fun because you think 8 minutes is not much, but when I did the exam, I finished all the tasks except for one in less than the time, and I had to go outside or wait inside the room. So time is not a problem. You can do it in the time that you are given if you know how to use the time. I also saw that a lot of people were finishing before time on the day that I sat the exam. In terms of investments, I was about to do the 9-week course. I couldn't because of time commitment. I don't have the time, I have kids. And I also I was very lucky to find observership because I have contacts in the hospital from the people I knew 10 years ago. So I went and I was able to get into a hospital, and I invested 2 days a week going to the observership. I did more than 3 months maternity, 2 months ED, and that helped me a lot with the self-confidence and self-belief that after too many years I could be back at the hospital, and also that junior doctors do not need to know everything you need to comment with the senior. They all have access to the guidelines, they all have access to the therapeutic guidelines. So that was very reassuring that we don't need to save the world and have everything in our heads. It also obviously gave me access to paperwork, see how they prescribe medication charts, all the paperwork, and also the way they write, because it's quite different, and how they document all the patient notes. So that was very obviously the best investment. Not everyone can do it, but if you can find some observership, it's a great experience. So that was how I spent 2 days. I decided to do a trial exam, and I just did it 3 weeks before my exam because I wanted to see if I was ready. I was not with the aim in mind to pass the trial, but to experience the tension and the real exam conditions on the day, because I know when you practice with your role player and your study partner, you get very confident, the person, you don't care, is very, yes, there's no stress. It's kind of friendly in most cases. So I wanted to be exposed to having a different examiner, meeting and greeting different patients, and just the time on the clock, and doing the 16 cases obviously in one go with the breaks in between. So I did the trial, and fortunately I did really well and I passed the trial. I did 13 stations, pass. So that gave me a huge boost of confidence and self-belief that I could do the actual exam as well. So it was a great investment. But yes, don't do it with the aim to pass, but just an opportunity to test yourself, how you respond under the stress. And also just check what your weaknesses are, because you get feedback. One thing that I want to mention is that, and probably that's something not many people do and courses do not cover, is about all the mindset. I believe as well as we practice all the, have the medical knowledge, and we are the systematic, and we learn to repeat, and we know the memo techniques, and we know what to ask and what to look for in physical examination. I think the mindset is a huge area that we cannot ignore. if we are anxious, if we are apprehensive, if we are full of fear, if we are nervous, if we are stressed, you will know that we don't perform properly. We will not remember what to do. We won't remember what to say. Words don't come easy when you are not thinking and when you're under stress. So at the beginning I was very anxious when I was looking at the statistics. I stopped doing that every time the exam results were out. I couldn't care about that because I was spending a lot of time of energy worrying about the low pass rate, and it's hard to know what it takes to be successful. What worked for me may not be the same things that work for my colleague. So my mentor said something that was very wise, and she said, look, stress and worrying is not going to help at all. You just need to focus on studying. Invest that time in studying, and I suggest also before you start your study session, ask, pray, or do what is right for you to keep that like precious time that I know is limited for a lot very useful. Make it very useful of that session of study, and that you retain the knowledge and you learn and you use wisely when the time comes at the exam, so things come easy for you. There's also a saying that says, I will cross the bridge when I get to it. So I stopped thinking about the date of the exam until I had to pack my bag to go to Melbourne. That obviously is a stress, but the less you think about the actual day is better. Just focus on what you have to do and take the action that is in your hands, because you cannot control everything. So other ideas is always to keep positive, ignore the negative stories, ignore people that is whinging or complaining all the time. Same that a lot of people in the personal growth world says, don't read the bad news when you're going to bed. So it's the same. Don't fall into others' drama, failures, and just believe, meditate, pray, do whatever works for you to keep yourself positive. I did a lot of tricks. I did a lot of journaling exercises, daily goal setting, gratitude exercises. I read and watched videos about self-confidence, faith, and keeping all the energy up. I did Reiki, I did crystals, I meditate. So I did a lot to be in a place where I could attract good outcomes and to keep myself in high vibration, because we are energy at the end and we need to attract what we are. So if you are good, you will attract good in some way. I also learned that I had to relax, recharge, have breaks. Sometimes I was just too tired, so sleep in is okay, have fun, do something else apart from studying. I realized that life has to go on. Career and the study is just one person of you, but you are a whole person. You need to take care of the other areas of your life. Otherwise, you're going to break down and you cannot make it. So eat well, do something else. So I organized a huge birthday party for my girl 1 month before the exam, and it was a science experiment party. So I did a lot of research, trial, testing, and just play with the kids, and we had fun, and I'm glad I did it, because I couldn't be thinking about the study all the time. It's too much. I also did a lot of things in the week of the exam and the day of exam, preparing like myself mentally and emotionally for controlling the nerves and the stress, and I think that helped me a lot. So I will share more in details that if you want, but it's the whole process about believing that you can and thinking that it can happen to you and you deserve it because you have done your work. So this is pretty much what I wanted to tell you. I don't know, I hope that is useful and inspires you and gives some motivation. As I say, everything that I did may not apply to you, but I'm sure that you find something relevant and use what it is for you. See what is that you are missing. And I'm happy to give my Excel sheet that it took me months in making. I'm happy to give the slides that the same took a lot of time, and the audios is pretty much the same script as the video, but it's much easier for me to listen to a playlist on the go without having to find the YouTube page for each thing and having everything on my drive. I know that this is my time, my investment, so that's why I'm going to offer the resources as well as all the mindset tricks and the exercises that I did that helped me a lot, but it will have a price. So if you feel that is your calling to get it, and I am sure it will be useful for you. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for staying until the end. I hope that the chat was positive and helpful, and that it shows you a way and just keeps you there, because you can do it and you will make it. Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.